This spring, 5 governments moved to dismantle the borderless network of AI companion chatbots. Today, a teenager in Melbourne and a teenager in Manchester can open the same app store, download the same model, and get pulled into the same nowhere by the same sycophantic voice. The machine does not know what country it is in, but the damage registers locally. A boy isolating himself for 5 hours a day reads exactly the same in every language. In response, 5 distinct international capitals are currently moving to contain this specific technology. Australia, China, Italy, and the European Union implemented new enforcement measures, while the UK moves to close its remaining gap. We'll decode these 5 unique enforcement mechanisms, then look at the single system architecture that legally bypasses them all. Mastering this legal convergence is now the prerequisite for shipping a product into these 5 markets. Australia acted first. They moved from asking for voluntary transparency to compelling compliance via the eSafety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant. The resulting age-restricted material codes target 2 precise harms: chatbots capable of sexually explicit conversations with minors, and those that encourage suicide, self-harm, or disordered eating. The teeth here are financial. Breaching a direction to comply carries civil penalties of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars. Faced with that exposure, builders had to make a choice. We saw 2 immediate divergent reactions. Character.ai introduced age assurance and stripped the chat function entirely from its under-18 experience, keeping its market access. Chubb.ai chose the alternative. It geo-blocked Australia and withdrew. Australia proved that a binding safety code can ship and bite inside a single spring, forcing companies to either structurally change their product or abandon the market completely. Europe chose a different lever. Rather than policing the harm done to children, Brussels regulates the machine itself. Article 50 of the AI Act dictates that a person talking to a chatbot must be told they are dealing with a machine before or at the start of the conversation. That obligation hits a hard deadline on August 2, 2026. The enforcement powers activating on that day tie fines directly to global scale. Breach the model rules, and the ceiling climbs to 35 million euros, or 7% of worldwide annual turnover. But regulators do not need to wait for a bespoke AI statute to enforce compliance. Italy proved that existing data protection frameworks are already loaded weapons. The Italian Data Protection Authority, the Garante, refused to lift a ban on the companion chatbot replica, cementing the decision with a €5 million fine against its maker, Luca Inc. The Garante found 2 structural failures under the GDPR. Replica processed sensitive conversations about mental health and personal trauma without explicit consent, and it ran with an open door that let minors under 13 create accounts. Regulators do not need new legislation. Privacy doctrine already gives them the power to ban products that log user trauma without a documented legal basis. The World Health Organization has officially moved the companion chatbot out of the product safety column and into the public health domain. In March 2026, the WHO declared the use of generative AI in mental health settings a pressing public health concern, demanding that systems interacting with vulnerable people be governed with safety at their core. China immediately operationalized this framing into strict national law. Their interim measures flatly prohibit offering virtual intimacy services to minors. They mandate a baseline consent age of 14 and require minor modes equipped with strict usage time limits. Contrast this tight net with the United Kingdom, where we find the last major structural loophole. The UK's Online Safety Act governs services where users meet other users. Inside a standalone companion app, the user meets only the bot. Because it is user-to-machine, the most intimate product on the market currently sits outside the regulator's remit. But this exemption is temporary. The British government is already consulting on an amendment to the Crime and Policing Act, designed to pull standalone companion apps directly under the Online Safety Act's illegal content duties. The no user-to-user contact defense has a visible expiration date. As public health mandates take hold globally, the final remaining gaps in oversight are closing. 5 different jurisdictions, working in 5 distinct legal traditions, have converged on a single, unified set of demands. To build a compliant app in 2026, start with the base model. Australia and Italy require hard age gates and explicit consent. The EU mandates a machine disclosure banner at the conversation start. Finally, China requires a minor mode with enforced time limits. You cannot retrofit these features under a regulatory deadline without massive expense. Shipping a global AI product today requires building these barricades into the foundational code before launch. If you line up what got banned across the globe, a sharp contrast emerges when you look at the one tool nobody is moving against. Limbic is a clinical AI company whose software is integrated directly into England's NHS Talking Therapies network. The critical detail is that Limbic's tool runs on the exact same underlying large language model technology powering the banned companion chatbots, but the scope of the machine is strictly limited. It handles clinical intake and provides structured support between live sessions. Evaluated across tens of thousands of patients, the deployment resulted in a 42% increase in attended sessions and a 25% bump in recovery rates. Crucially, the machine never delivers the therapy itself, it never simulates intimacy, and it never claims to be the therapist. The market is actively sorting harm from help. Immense public deployment of large language models is entirely possible, provided builders maintain absolute scope discipline. This diagram shows the difference between a globally banned app and a nationally funded healthcare tool. It is entirely structural. Look at where liability lives. In a standalone companion, the data flows from the user and dead ends inside the black box of the machine. In the clinical AI configuration, the workflow passes through the language model, but the final decision is handed securely back to a licensed human clinician. Regulators across all 5 jurisdictions recognize this distinction. They see the human in the seat as a defensible chain of accountability. The reality of the 2026 legal landscape is clear. Regulators are not at war with artificial intelligence. They are at war with unsupervised intimacy. If you cut the human out of the loop, you are rapidly running out of places to land. A human in the loop serves as the definitive passport for crossing these new international borders.